Alright guys, real quick before we jump into the video, I just want to say make sure you watch the whole thing. It's one of my favourite videos that I've ever recorded, to be honest. I just want to say a huge thank you as well to Still City Interactive, the guys obviously who are making ESports Boxing Club. They paid for the whole trip from trains to hotels to food. But remember, I think the common misconception is just because they paid for this doesn't mean they paid for us to kiss their asses. We are still, given criticism, given feedback, positive, negative, whatever it may be. So we're still there to make sure the game is brilliant and to give our thoughts on it as 6 creators. I'll be posting different videos on the positives and the negatives as separate videos because there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of negatives, but there's things that I definitely want to talk about in more detail as a feedback video that maybe they can watch or go back to. Like I said, this is one of my favourite videos. I spoke about my first experiences, the best fight, the get up, the corner, the judges, and yeah, as much as I really could from my first experiences, just, talking to you guys. But yeah, make sure you guys watch the whole video. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. And remember, the gameplay that is blurred behind me is from the February video. Some people tend to think it's new gameplay. It's not. It's from the February video that you guys have all seen. So yeah, without further ado, guys, enjoy the video. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. It is the 28th. I can finally go through my 12 pages of notes and talk to you about when I played ESports Boxing Club on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. Also, quick flex, we did get merch. We got a t-shirt and a hoodie, as well as a poster, and as well as this controller. So that's pretty sick. Now, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my thoughts, so let's get into it. Now, for this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my general thoughts. Now, just remember, because I keep seeing people ask this question. I don't get why people just don't understand. We didn't record anything. We aren't able to show gameplay. We're allowed to talk openly about our experiences and thoughts on the game. So just want to clear that up quickly. Now I'm going to be doing a couple of videos on this because I don't want to make one 2-hour long video. I'm going to be doing some things in detail, answering a lot of your guys' questions in another video. But for this video, we're going to be talking about my overall thoughts and experiences over a few fights that I had, as well as covering the build that we played. So let me just start by saying that this build that we played isn't actually the most up-to-date build. A lot of things have been balanced since in the newest build that we didn't play. So for just as an example, we played, say, build 8 and they're on build 11. That's just an example. I don't know what they're actually on, but it's just an example. We played a build that was pure gameplay. There was no option to go on to a career or anything. It was just pure play now, fighters, and yeah, Bob's your uncle kind of thing. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into talking about the actual experience of gameplay. Now, in this build, we got to use 11 fighters across the welterweight, the middleweight, and the heavyweight division. In the heavyweight division, we got Fury, Wilder, Joe Lewis, and Rocky Marciano. In the middleweight division, we got Carl Froch and Caleb Plant. In the welterweight division, we got Conor Benn, Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, Kell Brook, and Terence Crawford, which I was fucking buzzing for. So the first time we played it, we loaded it up, had the screen, went on the menu, quick fight, we went across to heavyweight. It was me and Concept Reese, and I was Fury, he was Deontay Wilder. Now obviously, pretty equally sized men. And one thing I'm going to say right off the bat that will excite you guys for sure is I was fully able to use my boxing brain to outstrike, move around, and use Fury to his advantages against Wilder. I was able to move freely, lots of bopping and weaving, snap off that jab, move around, pivot around. When I was on the inside, throw a few body shots up to the head, step back, big step with Fury, come down with that strat and move around and avoid that big hand from Wilder. Now, I'm not much of an online guy, I'm going to be honest. And one thing I'll say is I genuinely surprised myself a lot. I made a few jokes on Twitter 8-0, and I done really well. I surprised myself. I went there with the mindset that everyone's going to beat me, and I surprised myself by beating almost everybody consistently. So what was crazy in this fight is I was actually able to picture myself in the ring. I was actually able to be like, okay, how would I use Fury in this fight? I'm going to try and put him away, but I've got to work him down. I can't just rush in and just spam hooks and uppercuts and stuff. I was able to pick off single shots, move, jab, move around. 1, 2, 3, move around. He's thrown that shot, go under, bang to the body, move around. I was able to visualize myself as Fury. I was able to use my boxing brain and it actually became useful from not picking up the game at all to actually going in there and picturing myself in the ring and how would I use Fury? How would I fight this actually there was no like sliding across the mat. We're shifting our weight back and forth when we're moving. You can actually see, I'm moving forward, go off the jab. You see Fury push off with that front foot and step back. There is no just like immediate turns. When you want to shift to the side, you actually see that front foot push him to this way, that back foot push him to this way. Is actually that flow as if you're genuinely in the ring. The movement moves how he does in real life. There is actual shifting of the weight. There is actual movement of the whole body when he throws the jab. It's not just like this stale. It's actually, and honestly, the way, and that's just fight one. Now the outcome of the fight was, so what I done with this notepad before I went away is what I done is I writ here, you'll see here, I writ things for outcome, fighters used, difficulty of learning, and then talk about it a little bit. Now, the outcome was Fury KO round 8. It was a good fight. We took our time. But once I started to get his timing down and he was coming in and I was just able to crunch the body shots, crunch the head shots, it worked well and I ended up putting him down in round 8. Now, before we get too much into the video when we talk about the rest of the fight, I just want to say in this build, commentary was not in the build. However, crowd noises and punch noises were. The ref was in, but they've been having some issues with the ref, so he done very little. He moved around a little bit between rounds, as well as at the end of rounds, he would wave it off when the bell dinged. And one thing to note in this build, which we didn't realise until about 8-9 fights in, is the body shots are really overpowered. So at the start, when I was using them, well. I was utilising them. Slip the shot, bang to the body, which obviously would sometimes just flash drop like that. That's what it would do sometimes. You'd literally pull back, uppercut to the solar, bang, they take a knee. Yeah, all right, they're up, fine, they're okay, but they just had to take that knee. Sometimes, you would come in, jab to the head, down to the body, and it would rock them, and they'd kind of walk around, and you'd have to chase them down, cut off the ring while they're hurt, and put them away. But we didn't realise that for quite a while. So at the start, we just utilised the body work as a key part of boxing. Now, the game felt for everyone that played it, so it was me, Reese, first time hands-on, Dave Coldwell, we got to meet him, Ryan Rhodes, all first time hands-on. And the game was fun, intuitive, and in a sense, easy to learn. As someone that just wants to have fun, if you've never played a boxing game before, you'll be able to get on this and you'll be able to have a good time. But what takes you to the next level is having that boxing knowledge, or at least the experience in a boxing game. But one thing that Reese kept saying is that one thing he was struggling with is to get out of this fight night mindset where he was pressing buttons and it just wasn't working for him. You go and ask him, he will admit it wasn't working for him. I was beside him, I was like, take your time with your shots, Reese, take your time with your shots. And he'd turn around to me between rounds and he'd be like, you know what, your advice of not, when he wants to jab, just press it once. Don't press it like 5 or 6 times and hope it comes out eventually. Just press it once and it will come out like that. Or flick the stick, whatever. I use buttons. A lot of people use sticks. I felt no real difference. So I use buttons for jab, straight and hooks. And I use the sticks for the uppercuts. I felt no real difference. Some people were saying that the buttons didn't feel as smooth. I completely disagree. As long as you take your time and you know what you want to throw. I never entered the pocket or entered striking range without knowing what I was going to throw. So I think that's the difference. If you know what you're going to throw at every given moment, sorry guys, that screen's gone off, at every given moment, then you will without a doubt never struggle using the buttons against the sticks, and that's the way I felt. So now I've covered some things about my first fight and the build that we played on. I hope this video is not too long, but I'm going to talk about a few more fights. I got to watch a fight between Ash, the owner, and you'll know this guy as Varus on the Discord. I'm not going to give out real names, obviously. Now, Ash was brilliant to be around. He was able to explain some things on the game that maybe we didn't understand, or, we'd only played one game, so we were watching. He was explaining things as the fight played out. Now, they done Plant vs. Fright. It was a very back and forth fight. Ash loves the outside fighting, so he will rotate the ring, snapping off his jab, making you come in, drawing you, and catching with you a shot, check hook, and moving away. That's the way Ash loves to fight. And I did fighting, which I will maybe cover in another video. Now, one thing I know you guys are going to want to hear is the Get Up minigame. We're going to talk about the minigame for the Get Up and the Corner, because this is the time I really studied it. When I'm just playing, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But when I watched them fight, I was able to calm down and study it and really have a look at what it was. So, when you get dropped, you obviously, it's got a lot of variables. Depends on your stamina, your health recovery, your toughness, your courage is a stat as well that we're going to take into note. And, how many times you've been dropped. But don't get me wrong, they've not done the fight night thing where after 4 drops, it's impossible to get up. You can get up a lot, or you can get up, bugger all. And the way is, I'm going to try and draw the icon. I'm going to try and draw it for what it is and show you guys on screen. Now, what it is it's 2 bars left and right, and there's a red rectangle in the middle of both bars, and it moves up and down either slowly, sporadically. It's bigger or smaller depending on damage, shot taken, and your stamina and how deep in the fight you are. And you've got to fill up this bar on top that eventually fills up green by the count of 10. You've got to get these little arrows into the red. So it is pretty intuitive. It's a pretty simple mini game, and it works well for the pace of the game. It really does. And while I was against mini games, I said, I don't want corner mini games, but this get up mini game works really well. It makes sense as opposed to an RNG get up based on stats. This works well. The movement of the bars is sporadic based on so many factors of the fight and the fighter that you are using. A very courage-based fighter like Fury will get up again and again and again. Maybe a lower courage fighter will only be able to get up twice and he'll just call off the fight, and that will be as simple as that. Now the corner, that is not a mini game. That shows health and stamina recovery, as well as it has 4 icons for your head, your body, your cuts, and your bruises. And it shows them in a yellow, an orange, or a red based on damage. Now in this build, one thing to note quickly is while there was blood on the canvas, we did not get to see the cuts on the fighters because it had not been implemented in this build. But there was blood on the canvas, so the cuts were there. We just couldn't visually see them on our fighter. So when you're 11 rounds deep, when the game drops, for example, and you've bashed each other up, you'll be able to look at your opponent and go, this side is hurt. The middle of his face is really hurt. This is fine. This is really hurt. The rest of his body is fine, but he's got a nasty cut here, and he's got a fat bruised eye. I know I've got various places that I can work on throughout this fight. So that's what happened when the game drops. But as of right now, there's a few things in this build that we played that has not been implemented. So after watching and learning some stuff, I fought Reese again. Me and Reese fought a bunch. We fought 8 times overall. And credit to Reese, as much as I bagged on him on Twitter, he improved tons over those 2 days. He improved a lot. It did end up being 7-1 to me, but he did improve a lot. Credit to him. So this time, we done Crawford versus Gatty. I was Crawford. By the way, guys, I had no issue with mirror matches. I'm not there saying to Reese, use someone else, you fucking cunt. Like, it's cool, I said to Reese, we can do mirror matches, whatever. He used Gatty. And one thing to note is the stats were not, they were there, but they're not final at all. For example, Gatty was like an 80 and Crawford was like a 78. So of course that's not going to happen in the real release, but all the stats were pretty relevant to one another, so each fight would be fair, but you'd be able to use those fighters to their advantages if you knew how to. So in this fight, I won again. I was able to utilise Crawford's speed especially, and the ability to go in and out, utilise his speed, movement and combinations. So obviously Gatty's trying to come in. I'm stepping back, straight down the pipe, that lead hook, and then maybe drop to the body straight, lead hook again, step back, jab, jab, jab. May miss all those jabs, but I'm keeping him away from me. Move around. And all in all, another great fight. And I think I put him down in, I don't think I writ it down this time, but I put him down in like round 6 or so. I really picked up, and even Reese will say that my Crawford was pretty naughty, to be honest. Jump forward quite a bit into the second day. This is a fight I really want to cover because this will have some interesting things for you guys. Like I said, if there's anything I haven't covered in this video, it's in my notes, it's here. I will be covering it in a later video, but feel free to ask as many questions as you want, guys. I will be covering as many questions as I can. But for this one, I wanted to give you my overall experience, and then at the end of this video, my thoughts at the end. Now, I fought the champion. He is the lead QA, I believe. He's the current ESBC champion. It's between 2 of them, but the overall kind of gossip around the office is that the current champ who I met, I'm just going to call him Champ, and the guy that you'll know called Aimbot on the Discord, he was the champ, and he's saying that he is, but apparently he abused the body shots. So in an older build, the body shots were even more overpowered than the build we played, and apparently he abused that to win the championship. So the guy that I fought, I'm just going to call Champ because I'm not going to give out his real name. A lot of people are saying that Aimbot isn't the real champ because he abused a broken meta in that build. But, I don't know. What do you guys think on that? But as far as we were concerned, Aimbot was unfortunately wasn't able to be there for the days we were there. So this guy that I'm going to call just Champ for now, I don't want to give out his name. He was the ESBC WBC champion as far as I was concerned, and as far as everyone else was concerned. Now, before this, I fought one of the other top QAs that I can't give out his name either, and we had a really tough fight. So I was looking forward to fighting the champ and seeing what he was all about. Now, in this fight, we done Crawford versus Crawford. I think this is one of the most interesting fights that you guys will hear across the whole creators for a few reasons. We done Crawford versus Crawford. It went the full 12 rounds. Now, you guys will want to hear this. It went the full distance, full 12 rounds, and one thing that you guys will be surprised about is there was only 1 rock. I think he rocked me in, no, 2 rocks. He rocked me in the 1st and the 11th, but there was no drops. Full 12 rounds. And when I say a full 12 rounds, I mean the game is in real-time clock, by the way. It's not accelerated. It's in real-time clock. So we actually fought for those full 12 rounds for 3 minutes. Now, one thing to note really quick for this build that I've just remembered off the top of my head is we didn't have a choice of the 6-axis blocking. We could block and weave and it would move our block like this. But the 6-axis blocking that we had seen when you stand still and you can do this, that wasn't in the game. The build that we played that was implemented was just this block, and you could weave and change a block like this, but there was no 6-axis blocking in this build alone. Ash had mentioned that there is going to be more of a casual mode and a hardcore mode. The casual mode will have this basic block and things like, you know, the random power punches that can absolutely flatline you and end the fight won't be as often in the casual mode, whereas the hardcore mode will have the only 6-axis blocking as well as the ability to one-punch KO no matter what, like, you know, for example, Wilder's straight down the pipe and, you know, that end the fight. So just, so you know, we played on, and I don't want people to get carried away and go, oh, it was arcadey. It was absolutely not. It was fucking stunningly real, without a doubt. It was stunningly real. So just so you guys get an idea of what we played on for that. Now for this fight, I knew he was good. I knew the champ was good, and you know, for the first few rounds, we moved around. Even he mentioned it's quite a cagey fight. We moved around a lot. We were Crawford. He was trying to come in. I was just rotating. Lots of jabs. We were both snapping off our jab. Like, jab didn't do too much, but we both knew we wanted to play a very realistic fight, very simulation, and we didn't want to just abuse this broken body hook meta that we had discovered. So you know, we were using our jabs a lot, using our straight slot, maybe dropping a jab to the body as he was coming in and throwing a lazy shot. I'd catch him with a hook to the body and step away, but I wasn't, you know, neither of us was spamming those shots. Trying to set up the 1-2s, and admittedly, the straights aren't as good as they should be. This is, as they mentioned, it's a balancing act from the dev's point of view. They're trying to figure out the perfect balance. Now, for me, I like to put my straight down the pipe in real life, and you know, I can hit relatively hard with my straight. And in this game, it didn't feel like it done too much, unless there was one time where I saw, I think Reese stepped in, and one of the devs put the straight as he stepped in, and it hit him straight in the head, and it stunned him and rocked him. So that was that. We hadn't seen that again. The one thing you'll notice with this game, guys, is there's so much you see once and you don't see again, no matter how many hours you play for. There is so much, like the amount of times, you know, we're blocking, and I'll go like this, and the shot will bounce off my shoulder and leave the person exposed, and I'll be able to just snap a jab and move. Don't see that again, though. The things you see in this game, there's so much you don't see again, and that's just how it should be. I think that's brilliant. Now, this was an incredibly technical fight. We were both Crawford, of course, but we're both using our range, entering the pocket, throwing it, you know, bang, bang, stepping back, trying to roll under each other's shots. It was very, very technical. Now, one of the biggest issues at the moment is the slips. When so the slip is you click in and push up, push down, left, right, whatever, and you slip like this. Now, the issue with that is it's relatively inconsistent, so you can't guarantee the slip. The weave, however, where you hold the L2 and move around, it's like you're in a cone. So it's very limited, and there's something I've brought up to them that needs to be fixed. And no matter how long I'm holding it for, there should never be an excuse to only weave like this. I should always be able to weave as much as I want and have that freedom when in the weave position. So, of course, counters were easier to pull back and just get out of that range, which that was brilliant. Don't get me wrong, you know, he'd throw the jab, I'd pull out of range, straight, catch him with that shot, he'd be like, all right, he'd back up, get his distance, then he'd come back in and mix up his game plan as to not get caught with that counter again. There was a few times where I throw a jab and he was over here, like he'd slipped to the side and he'd come over with a shot and catch me. Brilliant, but the weave was very restricted and the slip was a little bit inconsistent. So sometimes it would make sense to sidestep and backstep more than it would to weave and slip. Now, before all you guys worry, the sidestep is not some OP bullshit like in Fight Night where you sidestep uppercut. There was a few times where I sidestepped as he threw a shot and I caught him with a straight, but there was no sidestep uppercut, sidestep hook, cheese like that from Fight Night. Like, trust me on that. Now, although the rounds were very, very close and he thought he'd taken a few, he thought I had taken a few and he had taken a few, I felt like I was down. So come round 6 or 7, I think it was round 6, I remember him mentioning that I just put on the pressure. I started hands up, walking towards him, you know, like slipping, body, head, getting him, trying to get him in the corner, cutting off the ring. Really, I mean, when you cut off the ring, guys, it is brilliant. You know, he's going this way and you cut it off, and there is no other choice because he's going into that, you know, if you're in Southpaw, for example, he's going into that power hand, so you can just snap that round. So he's got to go that way. You cut off the ring, and because of the way the weight shifts, you can really cut off the ring beautifully. And that's one credit that I'll give is the footwork system is I haven't even got into the loose movement thing about talking about loose movement. The footwork as a whole is incredible. So using my stamina advantage, because I'd made him miss quite a bit, so he had less stamina than me, I was able to put the pressure on him a little bit, and even he mentioned, like, where's his pressure come from? And I was like, man, I've got to take some of these middle rounds, you know, you've definitely taken those earlier rounds, you know, he thought I was landing the better, cleaner shots, whereas I was like, no, you're definitely landing more, maybe not tons more, but you're landing more for sure. So, you know, we were back and forth, very close fight. He rocked me in the first, in the 11th, and that was it. There was no drops for 12 rounds. 36 minutes of gameplay, and we didn't have a drop. When was the last time you heard that in a fighting game? 36 minutes of gameplay and not one drop. Even he was amazed. He was like, we didn't drop each other once in that fight. It was my favourite fight of the whole 2 days. It was so... If people fight like that, this game will be everybody's favourite game forever. If you want to have fun on this game and you want to have a realistic boxing fight, just fight as realistic as possible. Work the body when it works, work the head when it works, put your combinations together well. This game is... Honestly, that fight was amazing. So now, it went the distance. Now, one thing to note, guys, is there aren't just 3 judges. There are 40. That's right, there are 40. They all have different tendencies. They all have different things they look for, whether it be volume, counter, significant. Obviously, of course, if you batter someone like 80 strikes to 20, but all of their 20 is significant and a lot of yours are jabs, every judge is going to give it to you because you've battered that guy for that round. But when it's close, the judges really wind it down to little things they're looking for. So I'm going to read off the scorecards and you guys are going to get an idea of this. Now, just one thing, there was a lot of 10-10 rounds, but these were the judges' scorecards when we fought. 115 to 115, 118 to 115 to the champ, and 118 to 110 to the champ. He won by majority decision on 2 of the scorecards. And for me, that had played 12 games at this point, it was a great fight, and I felt like the game was intuitive and I was able to use my mind as someone that boxes in real life to learn quicker and use that as an advantage. You know, we had rocked each other, he'd rocked me twice like I mentioned, we'd done a bit of damage, but all in all, man, that fight was incredible. Now, I've realised that I've been talking for quite a bit. I've covered things like the blocking, the get up, the corner, the 12 rounds with no drops. You guys, and trust me, guys, when I say it, you know, we threw, I think, 600 to 700. We weren't as busy. There was a fight I had where we threw 1100 strikes each. But this one, we only threw about 700-800, and we only landed about, I think he landed 64%, and I landed like 55%. And that, I mean, that's still a busy fight, but we were very jab heavy. We were smart with our fight, and that was just a brilliant fight. Now, of course, I've spoke very positively, and I've mentioned things, the weave and the slips, that just don't work well. The body damage in this build was pretty overpowered, and, you know, I've mentioned things that weren't perfect. But as a whole, this was my experience with the game. I will be talking about it more, of course, but I wanted to give you guys an overall experience of the starting fights I had, my favourite fight, the build that we played, the mini-games, the get-up mini-games, the corner scenes, that were just cutscenes between 2 fighters, and you get to see the health recovery and stuff like that. And all in all, guys, it was a brilliant experience. Like I said, there are a few issues with it, like the jabs and the straights don't do as much. You're just like, it's okay to take a jab, it's no big deal, because the straight, you may set up the straight with the jab, it won't do anything. And like, unless, like I said, there was a time where I think Reese was stepping forward and he got caught with a straight and it rocked him, and that was brilliant. But things like that, and all that is a balancing act, guys. That's not where they're at right now. That's not where it's finishing. And Ash has said, you know, things like that have been balanced because, of course, the QA guys and the devs, they know this. This isn't news to them, but we're there, and I was able to tell them things that actually nobody knew. And there was one thing, for example, that I was like, this needs to be fixed ASAP, is if you're weaving, so you're blocking and you weave back, you physically cannot block your body. If you try to, you'll just snap back upwards. It's impossible. And I said that needs to be fixed immediately, because if I'm in the corner, I want to be able to use my head movement, defend my body, and move like this. I don't want to have to be stuck like this with my body just on show. It's not fair. So that was one thing that I mentioned. And yeah, we had some great advice. I'm going to make another video about, like, you know, tons of positives. I'm making videos about some constructive criticism that I have towards the game and some things that need to be fixed. Mainly from a boxing standpoint as opposed to a gaming standpoint. A bit of both, actually. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's been about 25 minutes long. I hope it's not been too long. I hope you guys have enjoyed, though. If you have, drop a like, subscribe down below. Let me know if there's anything you want to know. I thought this would be a better way to do it. I'm sure the other guys will make far more professional videos than me. But I just wanted to talk to you guys and give you my feedback on the first few fights I had, the build we played, and my favourite fight. And I'll talk about more in the future, you know, because I got to fight some of the other... I got to fight Varus, who's on the Discord, Nude on the Discord. I got to fight the owner, Ash. I got to fight, you know, another QA who I mentioned. And I got to fight Reese a bunch. I got to fight Reese 8 times. So, you know, I'll talk about those fights in the future. And I'll talk about some of the issues that they had. But I'm going to start with the positives. Then I'm going to go on to the negatives in another video. Then I'm going to answer a bunch of questions. So yeah, thank you as always for watching, guys. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Please ask as many questions as you want. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.